Hey guys, so as I just introduced, I'm Nicolas. I'm responsible for machine learning business development in Europe. And so my goal today is really to give you a taste of what we're developing in terms of machine learning at Hexagon, and especially how we're connecting with all the software of MSC to just accelerate simulation time and all those processes. So what I'm going to do is first, I think not all of you maybe know our machine learning portfolio, so I'm going to first introduce it, then show you a bit of its value, give you a flavor of the value that we provide through some of the latest developments that we're doing, see if that could be useful for you, and then I'm going to dive in some of the latest that we're developing in terms of new ML capabilities. So it all starts with data, whether that data is coming from simulation, or is data that's received from tests, or data that you're producing on the go with production, or maybe some data that you have in-house for a while. What we're providing is a portfolio of tools that will first help you train predictive models out of complex systems that you have in-house, hence having real-time predictions made out of these. And more specifically, you can learn from just a few simulations. So use the simulations of the data that you are creating from your simulation software to train predictive models and just bypass the whole simulation process and get instant predictions. With that, you can also go towards real-time optimization and also robustness studies. Also, and what we're trying to expand in is really to embed machine learning within the solvers or the pre-processing that you're using at the moment. So integrating the Odyssey portfolio as plugins with an Apex or Mentat and all other software, and as well trying to just pretty much at least provide an integration from the Odyssey platform towards using the data that you generate in the simulation software. So I've talked a lot about CAE, but just so you know, we are developing as well traditional machine learning capabilities. So especially in fields of manufacturing and production, giving you the ability to understand the effect of different parameters in your manufacturing processes, like additive manufacturing, or maybe use images that you take from parts that you're producing to get instant defect detection and performing a go-no-go kind of validation of what you're producing at the moment. So lots of capabilities, okay, in CAE and also within the traditional machine learning world. To make it short on the concept and what is really the solution that we provide, well, what we aim to do is just bypass the traditional FEM cycle by just learning from part of the data that you have already produced, part of the results that you have, and just train models to instantly get results and outcomes from a new set of conditions or something new that you want to predict. I know that for some people, machine learning can be a bit intimidating. It's something new. There's lots of mathematics behind the scenes. So lots of people are like, hey, can I really use machine learning if I'm not an expert? So the answer with our portfolio is yes, because it's a software made for engineers. So we understand that there's plenty of non-experts in our customer base. And what we want to do is providing you a framework that is all automated and very guided. So you have a very user-friendly framework that allows you to do all the steps of machine learning seamlessly without having to. Okay, wait for a second. Okay, great. So, starting again. So basically, the main message is you don't have to be an expert in machine learning to use machine learning with Hexagon solutions. It's a user-friendly workflow. You're very guided along the way. Plus, all the mathematics are handled behind the scenes, so it's all automated for you, especially when it's about choosing what type of algorithms you want to use in your predictive model. Okay? And so ultimately, you can also come down at the end, having all sorts of features like animations to replace the traditional stuff that you would do maybe in here. It's a crash example from LS Dyna. You get the full result with an Odyssey now in just a few seconds. So a bit of high-level value before we diving into the specifics of the new features we're releasing at the moment. What I'm going to start with is that everything we do, and we really emphasize this, is real time, because whenever you have a model that's fully trained, it will yield predictions in a matter of seconds. And maybe the most important, behind the real-time engineering is really that we're trying to reduce the cost of CAE. And not just time reduction, but also the people involved, the hardware you need to perform CAE processes, and maybe some other costs that are associated. Plus, democratization. Like, we want to give access to those tools to everybody, especially to non-experts. So, like designers or other professions can be empowered to do CAE. And also for people who may be limited into doing CAE, like Formula 1 is a good example where they have a short window to do simulation. And so you can overcome those barriers by using machine learning. I will also touch on accelerating design times, especially with image-based learning at the end of my presentation, using the geometry that you're producing to understand the effect and its behavior in use. And integration with third-party software is really quite central. As you know, and as I said, you need to actually have some data already in to train a predictive model. So you need simulation software still. And we aim to integrate with all Hexagon software, but also third-party ones like LS Dyna for crash analysis and so on. The last thing, and something very critical, is that the software you're buying or you're leasing is constantly improving with time. Just because you're doing simulation, you're doing predictions, and the more data you add to your model, the better it gets. And we are a software dedicated for the engineering world. We understand there is not much data available. So we've come up with predictive methods that allow you to shoot for the minimum amount of data possible, not at a high cost, in order to be able to leverage machine learning. Okay, so that's a bit of an overview of the portfolio of solutions we have. So I'm going to straight away go into what we really want to emphasize today. It's about adding machine learning on top of all disciplines that we've been developing at Hexagon. It starts from fluid dynamics and acoustics, where we'll talk about this, but we're integrating now with Cradle. We've done studies with Actran for exhaust systems, and so we're quite keen in that regard into new developments. Another part that we're really supporting is structural analysis, and Nastran being maybe the most used solver of the MSC portfolio. We have a full integration with Nastran. We can read and automate Nastran runs to create learning databases to then train our models to bypass the Nastran runs at a point. We do also integrate with Mark. And for multi-body dynamics, we have as well integrations with Atoms and project going on with Romax. So if I stop here, as you can see, we're covering quite an extent of the main solvers and pre-post processors that are used by our customer base at MSC. And we're also trying to get into the manufacturing aspect of it. So integrating with SimulFact for additive manufacturing, and potentially dealing with Digimet as well for additive manufacturing of plastics, and so on. Lastly, we're also big in the world of explicit analysis, especially in the automotive world for crash analysis. And so we have also integrations with third-party software if it's the case that you're maybe not using what we provide for that. As you can see, we have a wide array of capabilities, so we're happy to discuss quite all disciplines. And just so you know, all these physics, they can also be solved and predicted within one model. So we also allow to kind of bypass traditional co-simulation engines by just integrating multiple physics into inputs of predictive models and then getting an outcome. In other words, the software doesn't really care about quantity types or what you're feeding it into. It just looks for correlations in your data. So, without further ado, I'm just going to jump into the quick, some of the latest features that we've been developing. Some I think that might interest some of you. And I'm going to start with structural and multimodal dynamics. So, as I've said, we integrate with Nastran quite a lot. We have an interface with Apex as well. So all the pre-post processors that are giving you access to Nastran, you can couple Odyssey as well. And what we've released now this year is the ability to create parameterized super elements in Nastran. Here we have a bit of the nitty of it, how it's done behind the scenes. But basically, you can create a register model thanks to machine learning of a super element and have a full DOE accessible within one super element. So it just reduces the effort to run Nastran simulations with those kinds of super elements. Here you have a bit of a graph on how the sausage is made, so to speak, behind the scenes. But basically, it's all automated, and then Nastran is just running coupled with Odyssey as one. We also integrate with atoms through FMU, kind of the same process. You can create something that's difficult to model within atoms as a register model in Odyssey, import that into the atoms interface, and just run your calculations straight away with the whole system working as one, communicating with each other, and Odyssey yielding the info back to atoms. So we're really keen on that FMU functionality, and so I'm happy to discuss it later on if it's what interests you. Fluid dynamics, we're releasing now a new plugin, so a full integration with Cradle. It allows you to just not have to learn a new interface and just straight away do machine learning within Cradle. And we have a nice little use case here of wind turbines when you're able to just replace them by reasonable models, understand how they affect the fluid dynamics around them, and just study and create multiple scenarios on how you would place wind turbines next to each other with a certain angle, depending on the vortex done by the one in front, how it's going to affect the other, just to optimize your activities and your efficiency. So that is also going to be upcoming in Q4, so we're looking forward to that, and we know that there's quite a few customers already interested into those functionalities. Now, getting to the last part of my presentation, new ML methods that we're developing, especially for the manufacturing and the production world. So the first one is really about leveraging images. Images are great because they contain a lot of information, way more than discrete variables or numbers. So by extracting features out of them, as you can see here, we have some wave profiles. We have done a quick study on how the fluid behaves around the structure, and we're able to get a response out of it. So next, when we want to test new designs, new profiles, you can just feed one into your machine learning model and get instant responses on how the fluid is going to behave without having to run an analysis anymore. Then, in regards to production, we do a lot in defect detection, so it's all automated. You take a picture of a part that you're producing, especially if you produce a lot of parts, and thanks to extracting features and having automatic recognition of a part that is good and a part that is defective, you can directly say, hey, my part is valid or not valid. And so we can do that with just a small sample of images, You don't have to train full neural network to get those results and get the same accuracy. So if that ever interests you, I'm really happy to talk about this. We're very excited with that Odyssey AI product that we're now offering. And so in conclusion, what you can grab out of this presentation is that we're providing a very user-friendly way to do machine learning. You don't have to be an expert to leverage our capabilities. We are integrating with all the Hexagon software and software especially to just automate and bypass those long run times and just save costs in the CAE processes that you have to do. Plus, what we're aiming for is integrating with enterprise products like Sim Manager and potentially being the engine in Nexus and do data enrichment with Natural Center. So please feel free to reach out if you're interested. I'm happy to talk about machine learning during the dinner and the networking event. Thank you.